Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. This is our final Balancy webinar of 2025, and we are glad to have you with us. Over the past year, LiveOps teams have operated in a fairly demanding environment. Personalization has become standard, AI tools have entered everyday's workflow, and event schedules have continued to grow more intensive, all while teams are expected to maintain quality and stability. The goal of today's session is to reflect on how LiveOps evolved in 2025 and to discuss what teams should realistically expect and prepare for in the next year. This will be a discussion focused on practical observations and experience. Here is how today's session is structured. We will start with a short warm-up to set the context. Then we will move into monetization and player behavior. After that, we'll talk about the operational challenges that still exist in LiveOps, and we will finish with a forward-thinking discussion on 2026, followed by a brief closing question. You're welcome to share questions in the chat as we go. We will address them throughout the session and at the end if time allows. Please let us know in the chat if you can hear us clearly. All right, let's continue. Before we begin, a brief note for those joining a Balancy webinar for the first time. Balancy is a LiveOps and monetization workspace designed to help teams run events, offers, and experiments with more consistency and less friction. Over the past year, we focused on making LiveOps easier to scale, especially for studios managing multiple titles. That includes a visual UI builder for configuring offers and events without shipping new builds, reusable LiveOps templates inspired by widely adopted puzzle and hybrid patterns, and as of this month, a new publisher account workspace for organizing multiple games under one roof. So that's the context. Now let's move on into today's discussions. And first, let me introduce our speakers. First, Anton Slashcev, studio director and producer at PlayHero. Anton, thank you for joining us today.
Hey guys.
Anton has worked across PlayRix, Belka Games, and independent studios, and currently advises teams on product and LiveOps decisions. He also founded Loot, an AI-powered reference tool used by game teams. And Michael Khripin, our product owner at Balancy. Michael previously worked at Nexters and Wargaming, operated a live game generating around $20 million a month, and has supported more than 50 studios with LiveOps strategies.
Hi guys, thank you for joining.
Yes, sorry, Michael, for not letting you to say a word. My name is Antonina, and I'll be moderating today's discussion. So we have many questions prepared today, and I hope we'll go through all of them. But let's start with a little warm-up. The first question to you guys. If you had to describe LiveOps in 2025 in one sentence, what would it be? Let's start with you, Michael.
Well, I would call it copy-pasting. I've noticed tons of games which just copied each other. Lots of LiveOps activities, events, offers, looking as if just one person.
As Raw Match and Monopoly Go. Let's address the elephant in the room.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like just one game designer actually works for the whole game industry right now.
Yes, that's an amazing. Yeah, I think it describes it perfectly. How about you?
I want to know this person. If you know name of this person, please let me know.
Maybe right now it's an AI, so there is no person at all.
Yes.
I think, like, for me, I would describe it as a systematic approach to LiveOps, and copy pasting the events is whether it's good or bad is just part of it, of this systematic approach. So why invent something when you can, yeah, especially in puzzle, why invent something when you can, right, just search the market, find what works for your competitors, and you can just implement it in your game, and it just has higher chances of success, of boosting your metrics, if it's a proven event that works for top games, because they've obviously spent a lot of time and effort in A/B testing it, in A/B testing different other events, and so they've done, the heavy lifting for you. You can just enjoy the result. To be fair, I don't think it always works well. So you can use like others events in your game. Sure, it's a good approach, but you always need to understand like why you want to use them, what like goal you try to achieve, how it fits, your live ops system. And also, not all events, even in like top grossing games, not all of them are successful, not all of them are done right. And it's very funny to see when some events are done with some errors or mistakes, but all other studios actually also copy them with the same errors. I've seen such stuff when I was at Playrix, and I saw that many studios actually copied some events with obvious flaws, but they thought that they just didn't think like how it works and whether they need to copy this or not. So they just copied everything, including the flaws.
Yes, it's all trial and error, right? Um, and we can only see that they're top grossing, and that's all, and follow them. Thank you guys for sharing your perspectives. So, the next question is: looking back at this year, what surprised you the most about how live ops evolved? Again, to you, Michael. We'll go in turns.
Oh, well, the biggest surprise for me this year was how game developers migrate from hybrid casual games to like hyper casual games to hybrid casual games, adopting more and more and more live ops practices, which already became standard in casual. And this is like a huge wave of adoption. I just see it everywhere. So yeah, this was the biggest surprise. So, such a massive movement towards
Mhm.
this um,
Um,
patterns.
since we've touched on this topic, why do you think this is happening? Do you have any guesses? Like that all of
Hmm,
a sudden it became more prominent.
I would probably repeat after Anton. Maybe they just figured that it's much easier to copy
Hmm.
some proven solutions, and copying is always easier than inventing something new. So probably they just use
Yes,
this
it's
to save some resources or saving time.
I think to add here, so I think for hybrid casual, it's definitely okay approach to just copy the events and approaches for live ops. So usually their approach is that they innovate within the core gameplay. So they want their core gameplay of like whatever puzzle sorting, blocking, like thing they have. They try to innovate there to make it feel fresh in terms of gameplay, very addicting. Also to have very good CPI on that. But since they've already innovated there, they don't need to take too much risk and also innovate in live ops. There is no need for that. So for them, I think it's a viable strategy to uh, to have some proven live ops system to copy it from other games, uh, and just innovate only in gameplay. And we actually see that in terms of gameplay, lots of hybrid casual games are trying to figure out something new.
Thank you for adding, Anton. So, what's the biggest surprise to you?
I think for me it was a specific thing. It was Gossip Harbor breakthrough. So for many years, Gossip Harbor was like kind of, well, let's say tier two mobile game. It's very good game, very like cozy with good mechanics, uh, decent live ops, but like it was always, like lacking behind the big guys, like Pro Match, Playrix Games, Candy Crush, Monopoly Go, etc. So it always was like copying after them, and it was obviously lagging behind in terms of live ops, in terms of metrics, in terms of revenue, etc. But this year, I think they did like some kind of a miracle in the in the current market, where, well, the market grew a bit overall, like market and overall puzzle market. It grew a bit, but just a tiny bit. We don't see like a significant market growth. And I monitor like mobile data a lot, as you maybe know
Mhm.
from my LinkedIn. I
Yes.
monitor it a lot, so I know that like the market overall is not really growing. Puzzle segment, it's growing a, a bit better, but mostly because of this hybrid casual boom in sort puzzle, block puzzle, etc. While like oldest genres like match 3 is not feeling well,
Mhm.
merge is like steady, etc. So and they did a very good job in significantly boosting an old game. They grew significantly, and they like reinvented their live ops from scratch.
Mhm.
And right now, I think they're like the number one in terms of their live ops approaches compared to Royal Match, and everyone should be looking now uh, on them and studying, their playbook.
Mhm. Who knows? Maybe we will invite them to our podcast and learn firsthand how they did such a breakthrough. But yeah, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
so
Yeah, go
maybe
ahead,
the
Mike.
next year will be all about copying Gossip Harbor. No,
Yes.
we'll see.
All right. Let's move to our next set of questions. Which LiveOps innovations? I know we touched already on templatization and other things. In your opinion, Michael, we'll start with you. Which LiveOps innovations stood out to you this year and why?
Oh, um, I liked uh, I liked actually the ways how how all these games, what while copying, how they're trying to look different and what exactly they choose to make different. Obviously, many of them, uh, like all of them, using their own art style, so it looks different visually. But some, I noticed that they are actively playing with economy and some games I've noticed they change monetization um, of the original, let's say, games where they took the idea. They changed monetization so it becomes much heavier, I would say, much demanding, and uh, maybe it's not innovation, but for me, it shows how flexible these mechanics are. So they are not like built in stone. You can, while copying, you can actually modify it a lot, and it will still feel the same, but uh, it it still will be like tuned up for your own audience, and I think this is good approach for that. So I wouldn't name the exact innovation that I would like highlight here to everybody, but this
So,
thing whereas
uh,
like yeah, deep deconstruction and adopting to the your own audience is very important.
I wanted to add a little bit here on that. Our previous webinar was we were deconstructing Voodoo's title, Coffee Pack, and there you brought up a lot of points where they
Well, yeah,
take they took an event from Royal Match, but they completely reshaped it in monetization point of view, and in many other ways. So maybe it's a good webinar to look back.
Yes,
We're
thanks
interested.
for reminding. Yes, this is still fresh in my mind. Probably, yeah, I subconsciously reference to this, but yeah, that's my
Mhm.
point.
Yes. All right. Wonderful. Anton, how about you?
So I think I can't call it innovation, but just as an overall trend for LiveOps is making the experience closer to like kind of TikTok experience for
Mm,
games. What I mean here is that usually there is a trend to making events shorter and more packed, and making the loops shorter, and having the like rewards and dopamine buff faster. So it's just like making an old live ops schedule and playing it on steroids, on adrenaline, on something. So the game just must be like a constant surprise for you. You should always open a game and there is something new for you. There is some new rewards. There is a new event. There is always something going on there, and it doesn't require too much effort from you to understand what you should be doing. So it always should be easy for the player to navigate it, and the players should have gratification and rewards very very fast when they engage with the game. And the events should be very very short, so that you can complete one event, but they should interlap, so that once you completed the one event, there is another event ongoing, and you're trying to close and finish this event, but there is another event ongoing, etc., etc. So it's like an infinite TikTok scrolling experience, but in terms of live ops events for games. So that's I think like the trend that we see. And actually, getting back to Gossip Harbor, that's actually their approach.
mm,
So they had like 20 events per month in 2024, and in 2025 amount of events per month grew to 90 or even 100. So they increased the amount of events per month like in 5 times or so. And the
mhm,
events themselves, they became much much shorter.
mhm,
And they, of course, there is a lot other changes they made like changes how these events interconnected, how they are overlap, what is the user flow, how fast users get some rewards. But the overall approach was, I think, this in mind, to make the game more dynamic, to give players something new constantly, to make it addicting, to give
mhm,
rewards and gratification faster, to make it like a no-brain winning experience for the player.
mhm. Yes, as our attention gets shorter, we get more and more events, and UA is the best setter for it because, of course, over the years they've experimented with so many things in the ads. It's the perfect reference point. Yeah. So thank you for sharing. Um, Moving on to the next question, we've seen studios lean more heavily into personalization. Where do you see the balance between effectiveness and perceived fairness, Michael?
Mm, you never know if the game uses personalization or not because you are playing as a person. Uh,
Yeah.
you should just have 10 other persons next to you and compare the games together. So um, I don't know if it's fair. I think it's the big trend, and more games will use personalization as a next step after segmentation, which is like old school now. And we definitely know that major players on the market definitely use personalization, so everybody will start like looking at them and trying to copy them. The same Royal Match, we know how they like reveal hidden layers of like what's schedule if you are like good enough to complete the first layer of events, you will immediately get to the next layer of events and so on and so on. But many players will never know if these layers, extra layers exist. you you have to behave specific way in the game, so this personalization engine will catch you up and give you more and more and more according to your personal behavior. So
Mhm.
I, I think it's totally fair, actually. I like games being personalized. Um, I just wonder where we get with
Mhm.
this.
Yes. How about you, Anton?
So yeah, I have a few different thoughts in mind on that. So the first one, I think, in general, it depends on the genre of the game. So I think in the more competitive the game is, the more like hardcore it is, the more danger there is in terms of personalization, because it will be unfair, and the community there, they are more active, so they can actually easily figure out if the game is unfair, especially if it is about gameplay related things, like if one player can get a new gun in like 5 levels and the other player can get a new gun in 50 levels, and they discuss it within community, it will be bad, and they will definitely be like outraged about it, and it can harm your paying players, your whales, etc. So it's a very dangerous thing, and for these type of games and genres, it's better to make personalization for not gameplay or progression related things, to just help the player to not push them, but just softly push them to the direction they need to go. For example, to different game modes, you can just highlight different game modes for different players more. You don't like ban them from entering like other game mode. No, you still can go there, but you just change uh, in which order you show these game modes on the main screen, and it actually can have a significant impact on the usage rate. So
Mhm.
you should be very careful in terms of personalization in competitive games. So, for example, in games like Squad Busters or Clash of Clans, etc., there is probably will be some personalization, but I don't think it will be like too heavy. You can just personalize everything to maximize your revenue, because eventually you will face a significant backlash, especially if your game is big enough and have a strong community, and you want to your game to be big enough and have strong community, right? So you don't want uh, to have problems for that. That's the first thing. uh, the second thing, I think, actually right now most of casual games, they don't really have personalization apart from segmentation. So segmentation, of course, it's like a must have, like different offers, different prices, sometimes a bit different game balance for different players. That's sure. But personalization, I think, very I don't really have a good example in mind. So, example with Royal Match, I think it to me it's not really a personalization. It's just a content rotation. Their live ops events it's kind of content. So when you run out of the first layer of content, they just push you like the second bunch of content. They're not trying to make it personal. They're not trying to figure out like what events you want to play and give you this type of events. They just give you more events when you run out of events.
Uh, Before Michael, you add, we have a question here. So, what does fairness mean for a diverse audience? Thank you, Andrei, for asking.
Hmm. I would say it's deeply related to core mechanics. If there is something competitive in gameplay, as Anton said, uh, everybody wants to be in a fair situation comparing to other players. So you never mess with core gameplay, core game rules with like this physics, for example. Uh, you will never make the gravity like personalized, right? So this level of fairness is expected, but for things that related to, for example, like cooldowns for rewarded videos, nobody cares.
Yeah.
So why not?
Yes, Andre also added a point, but Royal Match uses personalization for event progression, and it seems okay. Yeah.
I need to check it. Maybe they have some small personalization, but for example, what like for me would be a real personalization, and I don't really see like someone figuring it out, is LiveOps calendar, which is created specifically for the player. So what I think the personalization, what it should be, that basically right now most of the games they have set it live ops calendar for all players, and maybe just some small things there differ in terms of balance, and I would maybe call it a segmentation. They just like change the balance for different segments. They make like game harder for whales because whales can pay more, so they should suffer. So yeah, so yeah, so but there is, at least I don't really know like successful examples of games where the live ops calendar changes completely for different players based on their previous behavior, because maybe like for example, maybe one player they just want to engage in social events, in tournaments, competitions, pvp events. They just want only that. Other players, for example, they don't really like care about that. They don't want clans, they don't want like competitions. They just want to, like for example, engage in task driven events. They just want to click all the check boxes. They want to complete all tasks and collect all the rewards. Okay, why not? Maybe they should have more this type of events and less like competing type of events. uh, of course, it's a very like ambitious thought. It's very hard to juggle with with this system. It becomes less stable, less predictive when you have a setted live ops calendar for everyone. It's easy, it's not easy, but it's easier to a-b test it, a-b test frequency, a-b test lengths of events, etc, etc. And if your live ops calendar is different for every players, it will be much harder to make like data driven decisions. It will be much harder to measure it, how it works, how it performs, because you don't really know how it works for each player. So this is where the challenge lies. But I think it can be solvable, because like for example, in many match three games, so some match three games they have a, so all match three games have a difficulty curve, like any puzzle game. So like how many attempts you need to pass a level, and it's a graph of it. So some games they have a pre-created difficulty curve for all players or for different segment of players, but some games, including I believe Royal Match, they actually have a dynamic difficulty curve. So difficulty of each level, it changes based on the player behavior, based on their segment, first of all, how how much they're paying, and also it changes depending on whether you're constantly losing. So if you're constantly losing, the game will actually help you, it will help you to win. Well, if you're constantly winning, it will make you probably lose a bit. So, and I think it's like the first step for personalization, but the important thing, it's actually kind of unfair. So it won't work well for any competitive pvp or something like this games, but for puzzles it can work, and some studios use it. I believe it's very hard to fine tune this difficulty curve, and difficulty curve is super important for any puzzle games. It's basically your game can die or win depending on your only on your difficulty curve sometimes. uh, so polishing it's very important, and it's very hard to polish a dynamic difficulty curve, but it's doable. So I believe that something like this can be done in terms of the overall live ops calendar, to make it personalized for every player.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing, guys. Yeah, we can summarize it up by saying proceed with caution with
Yeah.
personalization. Yes. So moving on to our next question, of course, AI. So AI and automation were widely discussed in 2025. Where have you seen them make a practical difference in live ops, Michael? Have you seen it making a practical difference in live ops?
Um, I would just quickly highlight one thing that it allows to do experiments much easier and much quicker. For example, if you want to check the like difference between two icons or two sets of icons, you can just in 2 minutes generate two sets of icons with your AI uh, and check them through A/B tests and so on. So it really saves time. Um, but I wouldn't say that I've seen some great results in other area, for example, in economy, balancing, or matchmaking, for example. I have no such information. But for visuals, yeah, it's very productive and helpful, I would say.
Thank you. Do you have any examples in mind, Anton, of AI implementation?
Uh, yeah, so I think the real adoption in AI is 2D art for mobile games. So 2D art is something where
Yeah.
it's like massively adopted, and I know that it's actually adopted even by top studios. Like King uses it in Royal Match. There is actually AI art. Playrix uses it heavily because the thing is that these studios they can actually train AI on their previous art so they can get a very good AI generated art. They of course not use it like out of the box, so they get an AI sketch, then they have an artist who like changes it a bit, polishes it so it doesn't look AI, so you never actually will know that you're looking at 80% of AI generated picture, but they use it a lot and it significantly can speed up the production process for art 2D. First of all, speaking about 2D in 3D in animation, so far there are experiments, there are tools that you can play around with, but they're not like production ready for top games. But for 2D art, definitely yes, AI is like massively adopted, really helpful. I think it's fair also to say that in terms of code, it's useful. It's hard to measure it because code you still need a programmer who will use it, who understand the architecture, etc. But as a copilot, so it doesn't work like create me a super cool game and you have a super cool game out of one prompt. No, and it's not working as a vibe coding as well for now at least. But as a copilot for programmers, for developers, I think it also like really adopted. Instead of Stack Overflow, they can just type their question to AI and the AI will find the answer faster and usually more correct. It also can help with writing some simple code for you, etc. So it's actually I think really adopted in terms of code. It's just a bit hidden layer. It's hard to see that. Aside for that,
Yeah,
yeah,
you can easily see if some AI generated 2D art is in the game, but you never know about the code, how it's written. So
yeah, but with 2D art, actually, my point is that it's harder to say. I mean, if it's just GPT generated, yeah, you can say that. But if the studio spends some time and train their own AI on their previous art, and also use the 2D artist who like overpainted the AI graphics, it will be almost impossible to distinguish it.
we see a lot of UA creatives on the
Yeah,
market
yeah.
that
In
are
creatives,
just
yeah,
coming out of the pipe and they
yeah,
never
yeah,
polish
yeah,
it, and it's so obvious that it's
yeah,
AI
yeah.
generated. So
For UA,
I
I think
wonder what
it
conversion
doesn't
do they
matter.
have. Yes,
That's a different topic. Yeah, so I think the third thing, maybe it's localization. Obviously, maybe not for top studios because AI still can make some mistakes, but for middle studios, if especially if it's not a heavily narrative game, you can make a very good localization like out of the box. That's where AI basically was kind of created for that, for language. Uh, Maybe ideation. So for game designers, I think it's useful to just you know ask AI for some ideas, ask to critique, make some brainstorming with AI. It's also useful. Aside for that, I think that's it. So in terms of balancing, like the final game design, monetization, analytics, for now AI sucks. Well, maybe not like completely, but there are some tools. Sometimes they can be useful, but these are more like experiments. These are not something one would risk to implement to the game, to any game. Yeah, sound design also. Yes, is a comment. Use AI for sound design. Sure, like why not? Also a good option.
Yes. Thank you for these amazing observations, for sharing your thoughts. So, before we move on to discussing challenges, we have our last question in this section. So, how did event cadence evolve this year? Are teams leaning more towards frequent micro events or fewer deeper ones? Do you have anything to add here, Michael?
I think no. I think Anton already covered this topic a bit earlier when saying that everything is starting looks like a shorts or TikTok
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Uh,
thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think I would maybe add that what I see is that usually live ops they have like a layered system, so they have a short layer which is packed with regular, very very short TikTok like events, and then they have a second layer of like kind of seasonal events, and they're usually deep and very very big, like collection, like albums in Monopoly Go and Royal Match. Of course, season pass also falls into that category, and these two layers they're usually interconnected with each other, so you complete short events from the first layer and you get some tokens for events in the deepest layer, so you complete competition and you get tokens for albums. You advance in this long event, and by advancing through it milestones you get rewards like boosters, coins, and they help you to advance in this short layer. And so these two layers, they're like interconnected with each other, they boost each other, and they create some kind of synergy. So I would say that there is of course a big layer with short very frequent events, but there is also a second layer with big events, like collection, season pass, and these type of events, and they usually work like together.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it should be
Uh,
interconnected. Yeah.
Andy is asking us a question. Thank you, Andy. Anton, I like your ideas about asking AI to criticize my setup or provide me a summary. Have you seen anyone doing that on real numbers and config, not just a design document? What do they use?
Depending on what numbers and config you want
Like
to.
game economy, I would say, like economy
Uh,
balance on events,
um,
is it good or not? Maybe we will lose money on it.
so what you can do with real numbers, you can try to identify, for example, charm points, but so it can work well with binary answers like yes or no, like is identify just charm in some places where it's higher and find some correlation with other things. For example, it can correlate higher churn with, for example, very low win rate. That's what they can do, but that's what you also can do, I think. So it can correlate some very obvious thing, the biggest downfall of like analyzing something with AI is that they it can't play a game, right? So usually when you analyze a balance, well, I think at least what I do, I always play the game alongside. I play the competitors. I try to understand like from player perspective, like how it is perceived, because there is no such thing as like a good win rate or bad win rate. You can have a very low win rate, and in some cases it might be a good thing, in some cases it might be a bad thing. So it's hard to judge, right? It depends on lots of factors. For churn, yes, the you don't want any churn, so you can try to find correlation between churn and other factors with AI. But when you're trying to evaluate a balance, it's just guessing. Just tries to create a balance that somehow related to the data it has, but it can't play the game for you. So that's the problem. But the useful thing is that you can give yeah, I'll just finish. You can give the AI the overall vision, like I want like my balance to be like difficult here, easier here, harder for this type of players, and just ask AI to create, like, for example, a spreadsheet for you, and it just will, take your vision and implement in some kind of a first draft of economy, and then you need to, of course, adjust it. But I wouldn't, trust AI on advices on economy, or at least I would be very, very cautious with it.
Hmm.
I think it's too early to ask AI for these kind of things. For me, it's still much easier to make some drafts in Google spreadsheets with some quick formulas and check some progressions much quicker than with AI. And you can use it like in more stable way, I would say, without any hallucinations.
Hmm. All right. Yeah. So it's an acceleration tool for now, more than the brain.
Yeah.
So let's move to the challenges. I'm sure our audience knows the challenges best, right? So we will not go into very deep detail here. But the first question is, despite recent progress, what do you think remains the hardest part of running LiveOps well? Michael.
Anton, I would pass it
All right.
over to
Okay.
I'll
Anton.
pass it on to okay.
Um, I think it's two things. So the first one is the amount of content you need to run DevOps, because as we talked before, the overall trend is the frequency, that you need more events, you need to run them more frequently, faster, which means that you need more of these events. You need to reskin them, you need to prepare variations of them, you need to prepare different balance configs, etc., etc., etc. And you also need to check that all these events, when they're interconnected, they don't break each other, both technically and from user perspective, from balance perspective, from economy perspective. So one of the biggest challenges is that you need to keep up with the growing demand for more and more events and content, and you still need to, somehow to manage it all, and it can be really, really challenging. But we mentioned Gossip Harbor; they run 100 live ops events per month, so you need to, well, prepare the art, balance configs, code, QA testing for each one of these events. You need to test how they are connected, right? You need to check if the economy will be stable after all the rewards and there will be no like significant inflation. You need to also A/B test them, analyze the results, make some product decisions, etc. So as you can imagine, that's a lot. That's the one thing, and the second thing, it's connected, but it's a bit different. I think analytics sometimes is also an issue, especially again when you have this huge amount of events, and all studios, they want to be data driven, so they want to A/B test like completely everything. And if you need to, for each event, you can A/B test a lot of things. So you first need to prioritize what you will be A/B testing, and then you need to interpret the results properly, and That's the thing that not all studios do well. I still see some studios, and not even like small studios, but medium studios, who run A/B tests without really calculating anything for the test. They don't care about like sample size. For example, they can run RPU A/B test on like 1,000 users, and they see a 10% uplift in RPU. And they're like, hey, we have such a great event, but in fact what they see is just noise. They didn't find a new like a great event. They just got lucky with this cohort, and that's it, and they don't understand it, and they can spend a lot of time and money interpreting the results poorly. So I think that data analysis is also a challenge. Again, considering that the amount of events is growing, the amount of content is growing, but you still need to analyze it properly. Each one of the events should be analyzed properly.
Mm-hmm. The next question is about tools. So many teams now have platforms and dashboards, but adaptation often lags. Where do you see the gap between available tools and day-to-day workflows? Do you have anything to add here, Anton?
Well, if it's like a fantasy, I would see it some kind of AI solution, one for everything. For example, for analyzing the the, the data. It's not there yet, but ideally, I would like AI to just bring me the report with checked results of all the tests. Uh,
So you
I don't
want to
know.
replace
Yeah.
all the product analytics by that, right? You don't
Uh,
like product analytics, guys.
so since like I've been serving as a game producer in big studios, my job was partially digging into the data or checking the data that analysis and product analysis brought to me, and it was it wasn't great. I would say that I needed to read a lot of dashboards and numbers. So I don't want it to replace anyone. I think it's like a human in the loop thing. It just needs to simplify the process of analyzing everything for the person.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wonderful. Michael, are we moving on to the next question? Or you have something to?
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
no, that's
Okay.
okay.
Do you see a real risk of burnout for LiveOps teams due to constant content pressure? How can studios protect creative quality while maintaining velocity?
Well, yeah, I see it a lot. I've seen people burning out of it like in months. That's really demanding. And that's why I was saying about AI being able to speed everything up and save you lots of time when some easy, repetitive tasks could be just delegated
Mm-hmm.
there. Speeding up with documentation preparation, for example. Um, if some events could be just reskinned or easily tuned up quickly, but that will give you a lot of like uh,
Leverage.
in advance. When I was working with LiveOps teams, we were desperately trying to work ahead of the schedule and having the like 2 months or even 3 months gap before event will actually launched. And this is a huge challenge, and this is always time demanding, and you are always under this deadline, and it's really hard for people to be under this constant pressure. So whatever tools or workflow will help you to keep this safe distance, like on the highway, the safe distance between the cars. uh, the the better.
Yes.
So I would recommend to work towards like accumulating this gap when you are ready, much ahead.
And I would recommend a vacation if you're feeling burnt out. Yeah. Anyway,
I
uh,
doubt it work.
Anton, how about you?
Show
Anything
show
or
show me the single person here in chat who had a vacation
and
working in
came back
LiveOps.
rested, right?
Yeah, and came back arrested. Yeah.
Yeah, so I totally agree with Michael on creating the gap between creating the event and launching it. The other practice that usually it's better to have atomic teams. So you want to have mini teams that own specific event or feature. They can be like really small. They can be like even a 3-person team, 3, 5, 8-person teams. They should be really small, and they should be able to make decisions on their own. They should have their own like small product owner, so that one game producer shouldn't be in charge of like 100 events going in parallel, and they can just focus on one event or feature they're making, or like piece of content, or like whatever, like a piece of work you have, uh, and it can like prevent the burnout, because each team, they're very focused. They have only one thing to focus on, to work on. They can have decisions. They can be fast if you give them, well, some freedom, and they have a good product owner inside them. uh, you still will need some managing team who will, be managing all these mini teams, and will have the bigger picture. So for them, it won't be easy anyway, I can say that. But like for most of the people, you can make it much easier if you have mini teams that are responsible for just one thing they're making, and they actually have some kind of decision power, and they own the result, and they can focus only on one thing.
Yes, that's a great point. And speaking on autonomy, it kind of touches on our next question. When teams, work on their own, like product teams, and not depending on the developers and so on. So, if you could address one bottleneck and how LiveOps teams collaborate, what would it be? For example, communication with development, release cycles, testing. Um, do you have anything to say, Anton?
Yeah, I would.
Oh, yeah, Michael, go
Can I
ahead. Sorry.
start? Yeah, I will be quick here. Uh, in my experience, the challenge was that in the whole game development team, there were small teams, obviously, as Anton mentioned. So there were teams that were working on new features and teams working on LiveOps. And these teams have completely different workflows. Ones are working in like agile methodology, like Scrum, with planning, with roadmaps, and so on. Others are pure Kanban, rushing all the time, deadlines, and so on. So the biggest challenge in collaboration was to make them work together and synchronize them together, having different production cycles there. Because when you develop new feature, you will want to use it in LiveOps after you release it. So they should know how to design it to be like LiveOpsable. So
Mhm.
teams should communicate together, but they might have, in our case, they were having completely different workflows and different meetings, different schedules, different deadlines, and that was a huge challenge for project management to make it all work together.
I
That's it.
see. So there was no alignment in the way they operated. How
Not
about,
always. Yep.
yeah? What about your team, Anton,
I think
or the teams you work with?
this question, so it's very unique per per team, per company. The bottlenecks can differ. I think the overall truth is that collaboration is the bottleneck. So there is just an equal sign. The more collaboration with different people, departments, each team need to have, the higher the bottleneck. So that's why this mini teams concept is so important, is because the goal of this approach is to minimize this collaboration, to make them as independent as it's reasonably possible for each team, to reduce this collaboration to a minimum. The less people need to collaborate, the more effective and productive they are. It sounds a bit sociopathic, but it's just you probably heard of term and two pizzas team, which is like the most efficiency is when the team is below like 8 people or so. So the team that you can feed up with two pizzas, right?
Mhm.
It's a famous concept. When the team becomes bigger than that, they very very fast try continue to lose their efficiency, and that's true, and it's just like some physics or social law. You can't hack it. The only thing you can do is you can try to split your team into smaller teams and they can work on their own tasks and features, and they have independency in how they approach it.
Mhm. Speaking of two pizzas, it might be dinner time for some already, and for us it's breakfast. So we will probably stay a little longer for 5 minutes or 10 minutes after the after an hour, just so we could complete our 2026 predictions. So let's move to the next topic. Now, looking ahead to the next year. So, what major trends do you expect to shape live ops in 2026? Yeah, Anton, you go.
So I think it's the trend that we already discussed. It's not new, and it will be for 2026. So
Mhm.
making the live ops events shorter, making the loop shorter, making it more TikTok experience like. I think it will be the main trend. The other trend is socialization. More and more studios and events are heavily focused on social in different aspects. It can be both competitive events, leaderboards, competition, can be PvP, and it also can be a co-op. We've seen it with Monopoly's Go trend, with partners events, etc. But it continues to grow, and I think it we'll see like more unique and innovative co-op and social events in 2026.
Mhm. Michael, do you have anything to add?
Well, I have no doubts that this copy pasting trend will be there still.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm not shaming anybody, but well, this is the reality. The more top games are coming out, the more people will look up to them and trying to copy. So it's like evergreen trend, and it will continue. I'm not sure it will define 2026. Probably the defining trend would be using AI a lot, even more than this year. I hope AI will come to analytics part
Mhm.
here, as Anton is dreaming about. So I would say defining would be somewhere there. Yeah.
Mhm. All right. So I'm gonna skip a couple questions since I believe we already, touched based on them. So I'll move
Mhm.
to the one of the last in this section. What advice would you give live ops managers preparing for the year ahead? Do you have any special advice?
Hmm. I would I would suggest them just play more games. Check competitors, play them, like spend your own money on these games because it's always different experience when you're spending your own money or your company's money to make this research. it's a huge difference. Just try to spend your own money on that. So yeah,
Yeah.
that
I think from my side, the advice would be to, well, it's kind of obvious, but still, like, do the like sanity check for any event or hypothesis that you do, because I see so many times people run A/B tests or launching events without even formulating like what like how it should improve the game overall. Can it actually even theoretically improve our ARPU or LTV or retention or anything, or we're just throwing something in on the wall and see what sticks. That's not the systematic approach. So have some sanity check before you do something.
All right. Thank you so much for an amazing webinar. I think we will be wrapping up. I will spend just a minute on Q&A. If you guys have any questions, please add them right now. But I believe I did mention ask them throughout the session, so maybe there are no questions. While I'm wrapping up, please drop a question below, and I'll definitely show it on the screen. So thank you so much for joining us today. The recording will land in your inbox shortly. Um, please follow us on LinkedIn. I will share the link in the group chat right now. We post a lot of content there. Follow Anton on LinkedIn as well. He's a gold mine of really interesting, insightful ideas on how you can grow your live ops and games. And stay tuned for our next webinar. We will see you next year. Yes. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks. Thanks.
thank you for having us.
Bye.
Thank you guys.
Bye bye.
See you next time.